my friends, and welcome to the Buzz Brat. This is your brat, Annie. Thank you for joining me for another awesome video. Today is a very special day, so we're going to have a back-to-back videos releasing today. Maybe two, maybe even three. So, let's go. So, what is so special about today? Today is just my birthday. And tomorrow is Thanksgiving, right? So, um, so if you guys don't mind, please like my videos and hit the subscribe button while you bake your Thanksgiving pies and prepare your turkeys or ham or your casserole or whatever it is you're making for Thanksgiving tomorrow. Please and thank you. What is it you're making anyways? Are you guys having turkey or ham? Let me know in the comments. So for this video, I have found myself into another rabbit hole. And since I couldn't dig myself out of it for the life of me, I invite all of you to join me into this little research adventure of mine, of course. Of course, this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. As always, I encourage you guys to please do your own research. So, let's dig into the mysterious world of what they call the weather modification. That was kind of cheesy, huh? Okay, what is weather modification? I'm glad you asked. So, according to Wikipedia, weather modification is the act of intentionally manipulating or altering the weather. The most common form of weather modification is, sorry, you guys, that was my phone. The most common form of weather modification is cloud seeding, which we will get into. We'll get into that a little later on this video. The cloud seeding, which has been known to increase rainfall, or snowfall, usually for the purpose of increasing the local water supply. So, it has also been reported that weather modifications can also have the goal of preventing damaging weather, such as hail or hurricanes, from occurring. And listen to this, of provoking damaging weather against an enemy as a tactic of military or economic warfare, like the Operation Popeye. Have you guys ever heard of that? Where clouds were seeded through prolonged the monsoon. And this was during the Vietnam War. So just a quick note, weather modification in warfare, you guys, has been banned by the United Nations under the Environmental Modification Convention. So, as humans, we are the only creatures that just loves to play with fire, don't we? You all know what I mean. So we have long sought to purposefully alter such atmospheric phenomenon, such as clouds, rain, snow, hail, lightning, hurricanes, tornadoes, thunderstorms, and cyclones, right? So this scientific weather modification is not a new thing, you guys. So the earliest documentation attempts began in the mid 1940s. So this, I think it was from 1947 to 1952 to be exact, with experiments like the Project the Project Citrus.
Project Cirrus is the first
Cirrus, not citrus. I think we're getting hungry. So Project Cirrus, which was conducted, it was conducted by General Electric, where the researchers attempted to increase rainfall by what they did is they were dispersing substances like dry ice into the clouds and essentially marking the birth of modern weather modification practices. So let's watch this first video about weather modification.
Project Cirrus is the first official attempt to modify a hurricane. It was run by General Electric with the support of the U.S. military. The official theory was that by changing the temperature outside the eye wall of a hurricane, which they did by seeding the clouds with various compounds such as silver iodide, a decrease in strong winds will result. On October 13, 1947, Project Cirrus targeted a hurricane heading out to sea. Approximately 180 pounds of dry ice was dropped into the clouds. The crew then reported a pronounced modification of the cloud deck, and the hurricane abruptly changed direction and made landfall near Savannah, Georgia. The public blamed the government. Irving Langmuir, who pioneered General Electric's atmospheric research department and admitted that the project was about learning how to weaponize the weather, also claimed the reversal of the hurricane had been caused by Project Cirrus, but the government denied it for 12 years.
Interesting. Now, this next video I'm about to show you guys was aired about 12 years ago. This was at the CBS News with, they have this professor named Michio Kaku. He is a City College physics professor in New York. So let's watch.
Scientists and researchers are looking at how to change the weather on purpose. That's right. Lasers now could one day manipulate rain and lightning. CBS This Morning contributor Michio Kaku is a physics professor at City College of New York. Professor, nice to see you. Extraordinary seeing Al Gore and Bill Clinton there together with Charlie, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, they did not get into this discussion, though. But it is fascinating. I mean, lasers, really, to change the weather?
That's right. Well, as Mark Twain once famously said, everyone complains about the weather, but no one ever does anything about it. Well, instead of doing a rain dance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts. This is potentially a game changer.
But this is experimental.
It's experimental. However, in the laboratory so far it works. When you have water vapor and you have dust particles or ice crystals, you can precipitate rain. It condenses around the seeds. These seeds can also be created by laser beams. By firing trillion-watt lasers, you rip apart the electrons, creating what are called ions, and these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning.
Go ahead.
Well, this fascinates me in part because, too, I remember reading the stories that China had used this during the Olympics, that the USSR had used this after Chernobyl to create rain clouds. I mean, did those really work then? We have some of these capabilities now?
Inconclusive. Even in the 60s, the CIA used this to bring down monsoons during the Vietnam War, to wash out the Viet Cong. Governments have been playing with this thing.
Alleged to.
Alleged to, right.
Yeah.
Now, we realize that for decades now, these governments have been alleged to have experimented with weather control, but nothing conclusive. This time we're bringing in the laws of physics rather than simply waving our hands and uttering mumbo jumbo. We're actually using trillion-watt lasers now. And in the laboratory, sure enough, they precipitate rain out of water vapor. Sure enough, you can actually bring down electricity down the beam.
So what does it mean for drought areas that need to have rain for crops, and if they don't have them, there's the consequences of famine?
Well, the bad news is if it's a clear blue sky, it's not going to do anything at all because it only takes water vapor that's already in the air and condenses it. However, for floods, for agriculture, farmers, for people planning wedding parties, football games, you name it, outdoor events and agriculture and flooding and even hurricanes. All of them could be subject to weather modification.
Incredibly interesting, Professor Michio Kaku. Thank you so much.
Very interesting. I know the video says 9 years ago, but that was actually 12 years ago. So, and here's another video, you guys. Can someone please tell me what this is?
45,000 transmit receive modules, and this antenna can detect an object the size of a baseball at a range of 2,500 miles. That is why I say this thing can project all that power into a pinpoint beam, totally computer controlled. The dome is 120-foot diameter. The power source is 3.6 megawatt generators for a total of almost 22 megawatts. And this HARP platform has a tow ship to move it around, so that 22 megawatts is not actually designed to go into the engines. That is designed to go into the transmitter unit. Other U.S. Navy ships have powerful microwave transmitters. This is the U.S. Navy ship Howard O. Lorenzen. It looks small, but it's actually 534 feet long. Each phase array, the boxes on the top of the deck, is a phase array transmitter. Synthetic aperture radar, whatever you want to call it, weighs 250 tons.
That's huge.
And there's a crew of 88 on board. This is a gigantic ionosphere heater again. So there.
Okay, so now let's talk about cloud seeding. So here's a video explaining it.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's a cannon shooting dry ice at a cumulonimbus. Cloud seeding is a type of weather modification that involves introducing particles, like salts, into clouds in order to induce the formation of ice nuclei. Clouds need ice nuclei to form precipitation, such as snowflakes. Cloud seeding is done with generators on the ground, via airplane, or with rockets, or even cannons. The most common substances used to seed clouds are dry ice and silver iodide. Clouds are made of water droplets and ice crystals that form around bits of dust or salt in the atmosphere. They form in moist air and are suspended by air currents. When clouds collect too much moisture, it falls to the earth in the form of rain or snow. Research indicates that cloud seeding can produce an extra 5 to 15% of precipitation over the course of a season. Years of drought, over-harvesting of water resources, and rising temperatures due to global warming have left rivers and snowpack levels low in many areas of the world. Cloud seeding could help to partially remedy this in some areas. The technique is now used in more than 50 countries. It's hard to measure the exact difference cloud seeding makes, because cloud seeding can only be performed on certain types of clouds, ones that are going to produce precipitation. The temperature also has to be low enough for the moisture in the clouds to freeze. Experiments are underway to test new substances to seed clouds, including liquid propane, which can be used in warmer weather to extend the cloud seeding season. More opportunities for cloud seeding could be used to increase snow coverage in mountain areas and help keep the temperature from rising there. The snowpack will also melt later, filling rivers and streams. Critics sometimes mistakenly blame cloud seeding for natural disasters, like the historic flooding in the United Arab Emirates in the spring of 2024. But while cloud seeding causes extra precipitation, it doesn't cause downpours.
Huh. So how do they know how to control it though? How much is too much snow or how much is too much rain? So cloud seeding is done by releasing tiny little particles. Typically, they said that they use silver iodine. They release them into existing clouds. You have to have clouds in order for this to work, using either ground-based generators or aircraft. You see all those planes that are flying up there. As you can see here on this chart, or right here, I'm blocking the number 1. So which act as nucleation sites for ice crystals to form, ultimately leading to increased precipitation in the form of rain or snow, depending on the atmospheric conditions. Essentially, the added particles provided a surface for water droplets in the cloud to freeze onto, creating larger ice crystals that fall as precipitation. So there's the chart right there. So the plane is equipped with specialized flares, and then goes up in the air. Salt was released into the clouds. Like I said, you have to have the clouds. Super cooled water condenses around the salt grains. Water droplets become heavy enough to fall as rain. So hence giving you about 25% extra rainfall each year, according to them. So now, this is where it gets pretty interesting. Okay, so there are allegations that are about other chemicals used with these cloud seedings, which some called chemtrails. If you ask a scientist,
chemtrails, quote unquote.
Hold on. If you ask a scientist about this, they get pretty wound up about it and quite defensive when they hear the word chemtrails, which are widely regarded as a conspiracy theory. So let's watch what one scientist has to say about it.
A decades-long controversy, but there are cut and dry facts separate from the myths.
Contrails is definitely a thing, it's from commercial airlines, it's the exhaust, but chemtrails is a little different.
Chemtrails are real, according to Midland local John Forster.
They have planes that fly into the clouds to help produce rain. That's chemtrails. They have that.
Cloud seeding, an experiment that started in the 1940s, eventually made people wonder if the U.S. government was spraying toxic chemicals in the atmosphere that could form into trails of clouds, thus the name chemtrails. While condensed trails of jet engine fuel, known as contrails, are scientifically proven, Brian Curran, the Science and Operations Officer at the National Weather Service in Midland, explains why chemtrails are not a thing.
The chemtrail myth is exactly that. It is a myth because the contents of the contrails themselves are mostly water vapor ice crystals. There's no nefarious plot to seed the atmosphere with chemicals.
Who is this guy? I've never seen him before. I don't know. I don't know if I could trust him. Just saying. I'm not judging, but
Some have speculated that Tennessee lawmakers are trying to get rid of chemtrails via a bill that aims to ban geoengineering measures to prevent climate change. Forster is one of the believers, and he thinks that Bill Gates is involved with chemtrails.
What else
would
Bill Gates be blocking out the sun with? It's got to be some kind of chemical that he's putting in some kind of sheet or something, right?
Dust, not chemicals. Gates financially backed the stratospheric controlled perturbation experiment proposed by Harvard University, which aimed to spray non-toxic sun-reflecting aerosols in the atmosphere to combat global warming. Earlier this year, however, the experiment was canceled. But Satavia, a young software company based in Cambridge, uses forecast modeling to track how contrails, not chemtrails, form so that aircraft can avoid creating contrail warming clouds in the first place.
We put the aircraft in a place where it's not going to make those contrail clouds. So that just means finding a dry place in the atmosphere to direct the aircraft.
Adam Durant, the chief executive and founder of Satavia, has worked with 12 airlines to solve the contrail problem.
By making small changes to only 5% of an airline's flight plans, so we solve the problem before the aircraft even departs, then we can solve about 80% of that climate impact by not making the contrail clouds.
The problem isn't chemicals, but the warming effect from a contrail.
As the sunlight hits the ground, it radiates some of that sunlight energy back up into the atmosphere, and the clouds themselves, since it's water vapor and water vapor is a greenhouse gas, will reflect some of that thermal energy back down toward the ground.
Hold on. Our atmosphere is not that small. Okay. You can have 20 planes flying up there and it's still not going to affect it. With the sun is also very strong. I don't know.
Contrails are as real as chemtrails, according to Forster.
I use logic and I research, and they definitely exist.
Exist they do, but science proves no other contrail variations.
Contrails are scientifically proven fact. Chemtrails are a myth. People will seek out what they want to seek out.
So contrails are real, but chemtrails are not real. In the studio, I'm meteorologist Ryan DePhillips, ABC Big 2 News.
Okay, I'm not sure. Can we really trust this guy with this stuff? You guys will have to research those if you want to know, if you don't know what they are. Anyways, well, anywhere you look, especially on Google, good old Google, that all it tells you, it's a conspiracy. Okay, chemtrail theory debunked, they're not real. But then why is it that Tennessee
This plane got
Tennessee passed a bill in April to prevent geoengineering particles. A bill based on conspiracy, right? Well, I'll let you decide on that after you watch these videos. Let's watch. I have two videos for you.
In the world that a private corporation should be able to go and get a geoengineering contract and make money as a private corporation. This stuff needs to be regulated highly if it's going to happen. It needs to be restricted. There needs to be a full-on verification process. There needs to be a whole lot going on before somebody can just go down the street, buy a plane, get a contract approved, and take it into the sky and dump stuff on you. Yeah, you can make a lot of money if you do this. You can go and get a contract to do this. And it's not that hard. I posted a geoengineering application on Facebook probably 2016 or 2017, Forbidden Knowledge, to show people, yeah, this is real. This is not a conspiracy anymore. You can go and get this job. You can go and get this contract to be your own geoengineering, flyboy, or what I call it that. Okay. They even have cannons that shoot these particulates up into the sky. Okay, they have cannons, and these cannons actually shoot up silver iodide high into the atmosphere from the ground. So they have cannons, they have the planes, but they say the most effective way is the planes. Let's take a look at what the Independent says. Let me pull down this next article from the independent.co.uk. independent.co.uk, and let me share my screen again. All right, let's see if we can see this together. I'm pulling up some more receipts, TikTok, and whoever's AI robot runs the TikTok system and everything else, listening to every word I say, making judgments on every single word I say. Keep listening and get some knowledge. Dubai is making its own fake rain to beat 122 degrees Fahrenheit heat. This is the reason why they want to make the fake rain, okay? So as you can see, I'm giving you guys the receipts. Now, let me close this video clip that you want to open. The monsoon-like downpour drenches a busy highway, causing tricky driving conditions for the stream of SUVs. Sudden waterfalls appear on the side of the road. It would be a common sight in parts of Southeast Asia, but this is the United Arab Emirates. In the height of a summer heat wave, which has seen temperatures regularly pass 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, guess what, guys? That's normal for that area. I've been in Dubai. It's hot, man. If you didn't want to be in a hot place, go somewhere else. According to the UAE's National Center of Meteorology, the precipitation was enhanced by cloud seeding operations to increase rainfall in the Gulf country.
Make your skies natural or man-made. And right now, we are making man-made clouds, and this is trapping warmth in our atmosphere. The climate change that is produced by these jets, not all jets, mostly some non-commercial, but what happens to our skies is that we start to see the changes. The man-made clouds do trap the warmth, and they increase the humidity. This allows for pests to proliferate, diseases, molds, mildews, funguses, and viruses. This is a man-made cloud, ladies and gentlemen, and these pictures I took myself over Northern California, and this is a burst. This is where a jet left a huge plume, and then this turned in at the end of it to a burst, and this is not normal. Never seen before in our county historically, and I was born and raised there. This is another picture showing the jet trail just before the burst. This is our skies, and I want you to know that what you're seeing now, a lot of times many scientists know, especially at NASA and in other areas, that the skies that we're seeing are not normal cloud formations. These are man-made. And what happens as we reduce the amount of sunlight in a form of global dimming, we reduce the solar power with these type of clouds, and we reduce photosynthesis, which is going to impact agriculture. The pictures look odd. The formations don't look like normal clouds that people have seen before historically. This is another type of man-made cloud, and what we have done and what you're seeing here is we have the photographs from the times that the jet leaves the first trail as a thin, spindly trail to where they form into these different types of cloud formations. All of you can start looking up and seeing this. What happens is that there are experiments, and there's a color, you can see some color in this photograph. And part of what we're doing also is we're sending up canisters. The United States government, NASA, the U.S. Air Force, is sending up canisters into the atmosphere filled with chemicals to modify and experiment with our ionosphere. And when we modify and experiment with our ionosphere up here, we create experiments which they can see through these persistent jet contrails as they stay in the sky for long periods of time, and they can watch the experiments. The type of chemicals they are using are aluminum, barium, strontium, and these canisters are sent up on rockets, and what they do is they superheat the canisters to create experiments in our atmosphere. The experiments can give you colorful auroras, which they talk about as being wonderful. Many times people think that the auroras in Alaska and the ones we see are normal, but there's beginning to be more and more seen across the United States and elsewhere where aluminum, trimethyl aluminum experiments to make clouds are beginning to impact us. The reason I am concerned for agriculture is that none of these experiments have any public oversight nor agricultural oversight. Our drinking water is impacted because the chemicals are now beginning to show up in our drinking water. In California, the State Department of Health drinking water tests were examined between 1970 and this year. and we found unusual spiking in barium, aluminum, strontium, magnesium, calcium, manganese. And all of these spiked at the same time in various drinking water supplies across the state of California and also in Arizona. So what's happening with these atmospheric tests is that aluminum, as one example, gets into, with increased pollution and acid rain, gets into the root systems of our crop trees and our trees, and it looks like the trees are dying of drought. But they're not. What happens is that the root systems can no longer absorb the water and the nutrients needed to survive. Many of our forests in Redding, California and other areas are dying. The oak trees, the redwood trees, the Douglas fir across the United States, many areas. We believe that these trees are impacted because they cannot absorb enough water because aluminum is going into their root systems. Also, molds, mildew, and fungus from warmer temperatures produced by persistent jet contrails are also allowing pests and molds to proliferate. Also
weather.
Don't worry if you can't hear what I'm saying. I couldn't even hear myself. This is the loudest sound you could possibly conceive. And as it turns out, the cleanest.
Now, the most amazing thing is that that cloud up there, which was generated by the engine, is just a mixture of hydrogen and oxygen. It's water vapor. And in about an hour's time, someone in Mississippi is going to get wet washing. It will actually rain.
Okay, this is from NASA, you guys. Remember, they said you have to have clouds or the natural clouds. If there's no clouds up in the sky, then they couldn't do the seeding. But yet, here comes NASA. NASA creating clouds. I'm not sure. Let's keep watching.
I told you. It's raining.
And there's rain.
Unbelievable. Oh, NASA's playing God. It's making its own weather.
People who want to know what this is and why it's happening. Can you give us an introduction?
Yeah, again, the term geoengineering, aka chemtrails, the layman's term for what we see happening in the skies, but this is weather modification on a global scale. In fact, these programs are so large and so all-encompassing that all other weather modification programs that go on a smaller regional basis are virtually, they're negated by the scope and scale of the global geoengineering programs. And these programs involve a number of aspects. You have the saturation of the atmosphere with various chemical and metal particulates. And there appear to be various purposes and objectives with this saturation. In conjunction with this saturation, which ionizes the atmosphere, it makes the atmosphere more conductive, we have the HAARP facilities, High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. These are ionosphere heaters. Many have heard of the HAARP facilities. There's not just one or two or three. We believe there's at least 18 around the globe, possibly with 3 more being built in Antarctica right now. And once the atmosphere is saturated with these particulates, and then you add the ionosphere heaters, the entire weather system globally is virtually being thwarted. There is no natural weather at this point, and we really don't know what sort of climate conditions we would have necessarily if these programs were brought to a halt. And they desperately need to be brought to a halt because the saturation of the atmosphere is thwarting the hydrological cycle. It's totally disrupting the rain cycle. Again, we have the artificially nucleated snowstorms, which I just mentioned. You can't go from 100 degrees to snow in one day without a whole lot of help. This includes jet stream manipulation with the HAARP facilities, and we are not guessing at this. We have monitoring sources for this signal, and we can see where the signal is most intense, and that's what steers the jet stream. So then you add artificial ice nucleation, which is a chemical nucleation process. They can turn what should have been rain into snow and drop the temperatures of these storm systems by this artificial chemical nucleation. This isn't sci-fi, this is hard science fact. The weather disseminating agencies are trying desperately, their task, and they're all owned at the very top, it appears, by the Rothschilds, and or other parts of the global elite complex. Rothschilds in particular are ownership of Weather Channel, Weather Central, Weather Underground. And it was imperative that they own these agencies, otherwise there would be great discrepancy in trying to explain away these events.
So do you guys think we all know weather modification is very real because it's all over their website, HARP's website, NOAA's website. I'll talk to you guys about those two, NASA and everything. And do you guys think that this is what's causing the increased damaging weather patterns, or is this what will this cause increased damage on our weather patterns? Let me know in the comments. So now, speaking of HARP, HARP stands for High Frequency Active Auroral. That's hard to say. Auroral Research Program. This land, it sits on, it's located in 26 miles northwest of, it's called Glen Allen, Gakona, in Alaska. It belongs to the United States Air Force, but the facility is being operated by UAF, which stands for University of Alaska. So according to the HARP website, the mechanism to transfer the land is through the legislative action, specifically the National Defense Authorization Act. President Obama signed the fiscal year in 2017 and the AA in December of 2016. Now, on the FAQ page of their website, there's a question there that asks, can HARP create an artificial aura? So here's that page. Let me read them to you real quick. So the question is, I'll have to move myself here just a little bit. Okay. Let's go move me onto this corner. Okay, now it says, can HARP, HAARP, create an artificial aura? So the natural aura is created, this is what they said. The natural aura is created when very high energy particles in a region of space known as the magnetosphere are swept towards the Earth's magnetic poles and collide with gas molecules existing in the upper atmosphere. The energy involved in this process is enormous and is extremely natural. The energy generated at HARP is so much weaker than these naturally occurring processes that it is incapable of producing the type of optical display observed during an aura. However, weak and repeatable optical emissions have been formed using HARP and reported in scientific literature and observed using very sensitive cameras. So they didn't really answer the question, did they? Okay, so let's forget about HARP for a minute. So let's go to NOAA Weather Modification website. So NOAA stands for National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA. So this is their website. And if we scroll down where it says read activities subject to reporting, right over here. Okay. So now I got to go move my head again. Okay. So let me read this to you. It's very, very tiny, so you'll have to excuse me. Okay, so weather modifications activities are defined as any activity performed with the intention of producing artificial changes in the composition, behavior, or dynamics of the atmosphere. Okay. The following, when conducted as weather modification activities, shall be reported. Number one, seeding or dispersing of any substance into clouds or fog to alter drop size distribution, produce ice crystals or coagulation of droplets, alter the development of hail or lighting, or influence in any way the natural development cycle of clouds or their environment. Number two, using fires or heat sources to introduce convective circulation or to evaporate fog. Number three, modifying the solar radiation exchange of the earth or clouds through the release of gases, dust, liquids, or aerosol into the atmosphere. Well, what happened there? Number four, modifying the characteristics of land or water surfaces by dusting or treating with powders, liquids, sprays, dyes, or other material, such as allegedly chemicals. Releasing electrically charged or radioactive particles or ions into the atmosphere, applying shock waves, sonic energy sources, or other explosive or acoustic sources to the atmosphere, using aircraft propeller, downwash, jet wash, or other sources, or artificial wind generation. Number eight, using lasers or other sources of electromagnetic radiation. Or number nine, other activities undertaken with the intent to modify the weather or climate, including solar radiation management activities and experiments. Well. So that was pretty interesting, huh? Now, I think that's all my brain can handle for right now. Woo! What do you guys think? If you ask me, I only have one simple opinion. Climate change is not real. It's man-made. That is my opinion. Okay. Climate change, global warming, however you want to call it. The earth has been here forever and ever. It goes through different phases every year, every few years, and it does heal. Mother Nature heals itself. Mother Nature heals herself. Okay. If we start messing around with the weather, modifying the weather, changing all this stuff, and fixing stuff that's not broken, then that's when we get in trouble. So that is my opinion. And if your opinion is different than mine, that's okay too. Okay, so let me know in the comments what you think. Just remember, okay, just remember to be kind and respect one another in the comments. That's what makes our community here in the Buzzbrat exciting and fun, is that despite of our differences in our beliefs, we still love and respect each other. So thank you all so much for joining me on my birthday. Please like and subscribe to my channel. We are getting really close to 1,000 subscribers. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. Look for the other two videos I'm releasing tonight as well. We're gonna have other videos I'm releasing this weekend just to kind of make up for the last weekend because we've been really busy, and I'm working on really good and special tribute video for this coming weekend as well. So thank you so much, you guys. Y'all are amazing. I love you all. Yeshua loves you. I will see you on the next video. Bye.